ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.
Well, if you're watching us live, this is the timeout to follow now. While we still wait for the finishing touches to be applied at Jaipur on Nexa presents ESPN Riggin for timeout, this game's done. Dreams that the Rajasthan Royals and Vaibhav Suryavanshi might have had after what happened a few nights back in Jaipur against GT. Dreams can be diminished, they can be demolished, and that is what MI have done. They have just demolished RR today. Cricket's a great leveler. I hate cliches, but Abhinav, Mukund, Aakash Chopra and Matt Roller will do better than that. That is as one-sided, as dominating, and as almost in some ways I feel bad, anticlimactic a game from the Royals' point of view after the highs of Monday night. But can anybody say that we are hugely surprised or shocked, Aakash?
Not at all, actually. Once they had scored the amount of runs that they scored, the writing was on the wall that it will be actually a decent size win. But as we speak, they've wrapped up the things and now it is a 100-run win. A 100-run win is not what I had anticipated, I'll be honest.
Right.
I thought they'll run slightly close, may not be close enough to really rush or worry Mumbai Indians, but they will at least bat better than what they have managed. I mean, getting dismissed for 116, 17 runs.
Yeah.
That's quite awful.
He said it would be a wipeout. Now's a good time to ask him.
He's right very often. That's he's back and he's on fire already.
Well, I thought it would be, I said 60, didn't I? And it's ended
60.
up being even more comprehensive than that. It could have been a lot more, I think.
Yeah.
If you think of what the...
It's always the bright side to look at. It could have been 110 runs.
Yeah, at least their NRR hasn't taken too much of a beating with 100. But no, yeah, it's been a pretty horrible season for Rajasthan, really. I mean, we've spoken about it a lot, Raunak, over the past
100%.
5-6 weeks. But yeah, 3 wins out of 11 is about as miserable as it gets. And yeah, that one bright spark of Vaibhav briefly distracted from what's been a really, really tough season for them. And lots of questions, as I'm sure we'll get into, for how they rebuild, because they were a consistent team, at least in the last cycle, whereas they've just been consistently awful, really, this season.
We will go deep into that chat once we wrap up the conversation of the game itself and its contrasting fortunes. MI go top, they just look better and better. That's 6 wins on the trot. RR now joins CSK as the second team to be out of the running for the playoffs. Why was it that bad though, or that one-sided in the second innings?
I can't actually put a finger on it because you look at the top 5, none of them have crossed 20. I know the intent from Jaiswal, again, 2 sixes in 6 balls. They've still managed to get 6 sixes in all. But if your highest scorer is Jofra Archer, that's sort of telling you the story. So, 30 of 27, no other batter crossing 16. I don't see... I really expect a lot from the younger boys of Rajasthan Royals because they are the future of Indian cricket as far as I see it.
You mean the middle-aged boys in this particular team?
Okay, so let's put it that way. The guys who have already crossed 18. So you've got Jaiswal.
The retentions.
Jaiswal, Parag and Jurel. And to be fair, I think I'm most disappointed with Jurel because I think he's had a season where there's a lot of responsibility on him, and so I really think he's not played the way that we've seen Jurel play in a particular number, in a particular fashion.
Sure.
So I think the batting has to be a collective fail. They got really lucky with Nitish Rana. And I say why lucky? Because they didn't have too many choices when it came to the auction because of the money. And Nitish Rana is coming off a very
poor domestic
domestic season.
Yep.
So he's given them 2 games. And 2 or 3 games where he's done really well, and he won the game against CSK on the back of that. But I don't see any of the other batters, Hetmeyer included. The batting needs a real revamp.
That's a point on Jurel. And it's fair to say we all are still hoping for big things from Jurel in this format. But Parag had a big season.
Correct.
So there's Riyan Parag there who you think, right, that's a banker of a retention. Nobody had much argument with that. And he has had this kind of season with the bat.
You know, I'm thinking slightly on a broader perspective that once they decided that we are going to go all Indian batting lineup in which Samson is the most experienced and the oldest, with Shimron Hetmeyer slated to bat lower down the order, the only overseas batting option available. Is that even a viable option? Because we say, okay, it's a young man's game. Fine, you put all of them together, they're all talented, they're all skillful. But if you put all of them together, and not a senior statesman in the side. Something that Joss Butler used to do till last year. Is that even a viable option? And that is when you start thinking about even the Indian T20 team. So you still need a Surya Kumar Yadav to handle whoever else is around him, before him, after him. Hardik Pandya comes and gives you some amount of stability. This kind of performance is almost it is representing what the youth can actually give you on a day when everything goes wrong. Of course, what Vaibhav Suryavanshi will give you is also what youth can give you one day. But there are two very drastically opposite ends of performances which can happen with this team when you have only the youngsters and not really a senior guy to hold it together.
Okay, I think we'll flip the order then. I'll come to the match a little later, but let's get into this theme because big picture Rajasthan Royals. And if I'm going to try and defend the Royals here to try and get the perspective. One, we never know what actually has gone down in conversations with players and before the retention. Was Joss Butler even asked? Did he deny it? You know, could they have had a second plan of being in a position to RTM him or to take him at the auction? What could that conversation have looked like? But is it fair to say that between the four, Jurel, Samson, Jaiswal and Parag, you're still looking at four players that have 7, 8 years, maybe more of IPL in them. They're 4-gun Indian players. They've all misfired. But I can see the thought behind it. Why has it gone wrong, which you keep saying, we go back to the auction table, we go back to the auction table?
Well, I think if you look at the 5 retentions, so there's 4 Indian names you mentioned plus Hetmar, I think they invested 75 crore in those 5.
You throw in Sandeep Sharma, and it's 75.
And the budget is 120. So they've already said at that point that we're a strong batting side, this is our core, and therefore the gaps you need to fill are in the bowling attack. And the bowling attack has been so poor this season. I know Jofra Archer's been pretty good, he's grown into the tournament, but across the season there is one bowler in the Rajasthan squad who has an economy rate lower than 9, and that's Rian Parag, which I think tells you a big story of how the season's gone. I think they know that they can't trust the bowling attack, but then also the batting hasn't been consistently delivering those above par totals that you probably needed when you go in with that strategy of we're going to spend all this money on our gun batters.
Yeah.
I think at that point you've made your choice. You have to be a strong batting team. I keep coming back to this with Rajasthan. We've spoken about this at length for 3 years, ever since the rules come in. They're wasting the impact sub every time. Shubham Dubey has played pretty much every game as an impact sub or has been waiting to be the impact sub when the game's finished. And he's faced 45 balls in the season.
And it doesn't change much because you still have Jofra Archer batting 8, which is a position too high.
Just to add, okay, fine. So gun batting lineup. Okay, this is where we are actually going. But then you should have a batting lineup that can bat till 8 or 9, right? I mean, you haven't got that right also. And there was one big hole last season that they didn't have an all-rounder. The only team that was not actually using the impact player, or rather having an impact player but not having 6 bowling options, was Rajasthan Royals. That they didn't have the 6th bowling option ever. Now Rian Parag is giving you a couple of overs, but then is that your best 6th bowling option?
Yeah.
It is not.
And we go back to who their bowlers were last year.
Exactly. So
Chahal, Ashwin, Bolt.
So I thought that they'll fix that problem that, okay, we need a bridge, somebody who can bat and bowl, we'll get an all-rounder in the auctions. Again, they didn't go in that direction either. So what they didn't have, they didn't try to acquire. What they did have, they thought that they'll get it in the auction and they still haven't got, which is their bowling department.
Again, I'm going to play Royals advocate here.
Okay,
and I'm not agreeing with my position, but I'm trying to.
No, you're a lawyer.
You should. Try, go for it.
Yeah. There's 6 points there that were in there for the taking.
Yeah.
3 chases botched up, a super over, and that whole social media storm of, 9 of 6, 9 of 6, 18 of 12. We're thinking now, we get those things right, and we're in a position where we've got 8, 10 wins, we're still in the hunt right now. So is it really as bad?
So if you're thinking that, then you're possibly telling yourself, you're not telling yourself the big picture altogether. Because you have botched up 3 chases, yes, but then you've put all your money on your batting. So your batting should be getting you 40, 50 more, like SRH of last year. They put all or nothing on their batting and they ended up losing by 40 even if they got 280, 30 if they got 260. You're still fine with it. It's an even playing game where you out-hit the other team. Where if you spend 75 crore on your batting out of 120, you should be out-hitting, out-batting every single team in the league.
You also think of those close games. You've spent 25 crore between Dhruv Jurel as a number 5 and Hetmar as a number 6. they have to be getting you over the line, surely. If you spend 25 crore on those two players and you've got those situations...
Unfortunately, it's become a business where you put a value on these sort of players.
The weird part there is, A, they've not had consistency in who bats 5, 6 many times. That's the other story. So let me go to that first game actually for the Sunrisers. And I wonder how much getting blown away for 280, giving your already slightly vulnerable bowling attack. At that time, we thought the batting still strong because they got, like you rightly said, they got 240 in the first game. Jurel smashed it. Like, oh, this is great. Jurel was the one thing we were hoping. He started well. Then you realize the bowling is not strong. How much do you think the batters started thinking that, oh, now, A, we have to go too hard, or B, the lack of the depth means we can't also go too hard because we don't have depth? Do you sense batters carried the weight of a poor bowling attack, or is that not a good enough excuse?
It's a little bit of both, I would think. It's a bit of your poor bowling attack as well. They have one good bowler, and the one they've spent the most money on is Archer. Unfortunately, their Indian pick didn't go right. Tushar Deshpande was benched this particular game. He was bought for a lot of money, 6 point something, if I'm right. But then again, you had 3 + 1 something that you invested on 2 more batters, which is Nitish Rana and Vaibhav Suryavanshi. And that's where, how much ever I think, I would have still not bought Vaibhav Suryavanshi for 1.1 and 3. I would have invested that money in a couple of good bowlers. You would have had bowlers for 4, 5. Look at that bowling. Last year, you forget 2 other big names. You've got Avesh Khan, got Chahal, you've got Ashwin, you've got Trent Bolt and Sandeep Sharma. These are 5 bankable proper bowlers.
Barring Ashwin, all of them are performing this year. Right.
So you've got... Ashwin did a role for RR, which was a defensive role whenever it mattered. And Avesh bowled death. Sandeep was there. He was bowling the middle overs, and Bolt was bowling the new ball. So that's a well-rounded bowling lineup. So you eventually get at least 2 or 3. You've decided to not retain any bowler, then you are facing the wrath of...
There is a big decision now, I guess, which will be analysed and thought of. Was it simply the question of Jurel? While he's a fine player, this team had Sanju Samson. So you've got an Indian keeper batter and a captain there. Forget the injuries and all that, you wouldn't have thought. We're going back to auction time now. So you're taking a very big call when you're saying 14 crore Jurel and then throwing in a Hetmeyer on top of that. Let's say you go slightly lighter. Even if you can understand, say 3 selections. Could that have been given them a better chance of getting one more overseas strong bowler? Possibly a Joss Butler, or at least one of the premier overseas batters that they're lacking. Did that one big decision of Jurel or Jurel plus Hetmeyer lead to everything?
I think Jurel plus Hetmeyer.
Okay.
Because Hetmeyer, if he were, and that's how you actually judge. Okay, if this player was available in the auction, how much I would have spent to acquire him? I don't think Dhruv Jurel would have fetched 14. I don't think Shimron Hetmeyer would have got 11. So if 25 crore and you think that that was worth on at the auction table, maybe say around 15, 16, 17 put together, you still free up 8 crore rupees. And then in fact, I would also invest in the 2 Indian bowlers, spinners rather. Get the spinners, they have to be Indians. Most of the times, unless of course there is Rashid who was taken. Most spinners are generally very expensive. If you're looking at Chahal, you can't get him again. That's 18 crore. Noor Ahmed was one guy that they could have gone for him. They didn't really target him. They went for Wanindu. See, Wanindu is a phenomenal bowler for Sri Lanka in T20 cricket. But his returns in the IPL are very middling.
Yeah, especially since he came back to India. He had one decent season at RCB in the UAE. But it's been very little after that. You were looking up and you were thinking on Jurel, whether he would have actually got 14.
Yeah, I actually have a slightly different take to it, because if you have more keepers in the auction, it reduces the price value of the other keepers as well. So if you look at it as Rishabh Pant gone for 27, KL's gone for 14, and Jitesh went for 11.
Yeah.
So I would think Dhruv Jurel is somewhere in the middle between these two with a bigger ceiling. Not necessarily that he goes back to Royals. They could have got anyone at that price point is what
it's a gamble, right? You can go and say, what if he goes for less? I have RTM cards then.
No, but I can that's the thing. More. Look, I'm a diehard Chennai boy, okay? And I'm telling you this. You can't be emotional when it comes to your auctions. You've got to let go of certain players. I know Mumbai are being emotional about it, but they've got a good mix. They've got an all-rounder and a premier fast bowler, and they've got the best batter in the world, arguably.
That's proven pedigree.
Right. Yeah. But if you're emotional about your pick, saying we've groomed them, we don't want to let them go, then It's a 3-year IPL cycle.
And also MI, you have to also bear in mind that if you were to put all those 5 people in the auction, each one of them was worth 25 crore. Now you know what you have actually acquired in 75
Where
crore.
I am coming to
So
is,
that is important actually.
is it a one season mistake that can be fixed easily? Now can you release Jurel and Hetmeyer? But the mini auction presents
Now
a
you
different
can't.
thing.
You can't release Jurel. You release Jurel, you will not get him for 14 again.
But you
Because
don't need Jurel back. What you need is better bowler.
I mean,
You have Suryavanshi. Samson will return. So
many-
you'll have Suryavanshi, Jaiswal, Samson, I would presume.
I think Hetmeyer has to be released personally,
Hetmeyer,
given
yes.
given the investment of 11 crore. I think he's been so underwhelming, really. I know we've spoken a lot about could they get him up the order, but 187 runs, averaging 21, striking at 150, and he had 2 innings, one against Sunrisers, one against GT, where he sort of padded those numbers a bit because the game was already lost.
Sure.
You consider, we're talking about what you could get in terms of finishes in the auction. Tim David went for 3 crore.
yeah.
Hetmeyer was 11 retained. So, I think there's got to be some kind of plan for that mini. I'm thinking of which sort of quality overseas players might feasibly be in it. Someone like Cameron Green as an all-rounder, could that be a silver bullet maybe in terms of giving them that balance that they've lacked so much? But it is really tricky in those mini auctions because there aren't going to be that many quality players out there.
I keep saying
And I'm going to reiterate my point here.
Please,
When you
Abhi.
said finishers were sought after and very expensive, but this year teams who knew with the impact player rule they had to be top heavy, and they were going after the top 3, top 4 a lot more than your finishers. You didn't have as much value. Like a Phil Salt fetched way more. Even Will Jacks, who's predominantly a top order batter and partially due to last year's form, went for way more than Tim David. So you've got all of your money stacked up in your top 4 on trying to be a power play winning team where teams are outbashing each other in the power play and spending lesser on finishers as we go along. I don't know how long Andre Russell will last. At the top of my head, I'm thinking that's the
So who
proper
could
finisher.
get
but
in there?
Who
Yeah.
else is there? Ashutosh Sharma they picked. Again, another 5 crore.
Well,
buy.
I bring in the T word. I love the T word. That trades. I love trades.
Trades
They'll
and all
now
that.
become active because big auctions you're not allowed to trade. Small auctions you can trade.
Yeah, true.
And at the back of big stories are trades made. Right from Hardik Pandya to Cam Green and that swap. There's, I think, in their heyday they bought Bolt and De Kock via trades. So there is that. Wasn't Rohit Sharma a trade?
No.
No, he wasn't a trade. Sorry, he came in from the franchise. Anyway, but there is work to do. Fair to say. Anything that we've missed out on, anything else that they need. I'll throw in one last thing.
There's one thing that they needed to do, which I don't think they have done. Something that Mumbai tends to do a lot better. If you really are going to go invest heavily on your marquee players, which you should, then your talent scout has to be top notch. Find people that nobody else has found. Rajasthan should be able to do that in terms of definitely the Indian spinners. Find them from somewhere. If you haven't managed that, see, if Indian fast bowlers, they're not. I mean, they cannot be hidden. If somebody is bowling 140 clicks, he'll be picked. The world knows about it.
There are little things better there. Could they have played Madwal sooner? Could they have given Deshpande, just something different. They didn't really change much, or they couldn't because there's nobody they trust in that
It
squad.
felt like a strategy to me to invest really heavily in the 11 players they thought were going to be their starters, and then they didn't.
I can understand that. KKR did that
Yeah.
with success last year, so I can see why the template tried to be copied. Jofra Archer, good enough returns. He also started the season extremely poor form, most expensive figures and all that.
I think he's been their best bowler. I would retain personally if he's fit.
See, it's tough to be in a bowling attack or in a team that's losing. Bowling attack that has no support whatsoever. So it is kind of difficult.
If I am to sort of challenge it or compare it, just if there is anyone close to Bumrah, you would say it's Archer at his best form. And even in their very poor seasons, MIs, when the bowling was absent, we're wondering who they're going to bowl and who's bowling. Ramandeep used to be bowling death for them in those years. Bumrah still outshone. There is the possibility for a world-class bowler to do that. So could you have got more?
But you won't still win games. See, this happened last season.
No, that's
Last
fine. I'm
season is
just
a
saying
great
Archer's
example.
own individual output of this IPL.
See, Archer and Bumrah, I think let's not compare. There is a stark difference between the two. Archer, I agree with Matt that he's done what they thought he will, barring the first couple of games. Since then, he's been all right. Today, he scored the runs. He was the highest run scorer for all. Come on, Raunak.
Oh yes, of course.
Highest
There
run
is
scorer
that.
in a game against Mumbai. What else?
I'll give you that. All right.
I feel bad for him. Last year or 2 years back, he was in Mumbai, and it was a depleted lineup, similar looking lineup.
Curse of Archer wherever he's going. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of teams would be happy to see him at the auction.
England also.
England also. That's what I was going to say.
You know what? Let me pivot for a second and ask you from the game. What was happening at the end? Jasprit Bumrah was bowling missiles to first Madwal, before that Archer. I thought there was an unwritten code in the fast bowlers club, and there was
Doesn't
Tikshana on the
exist.
receiving end. He already had a broken finger or a hurt finger with Hardik in the first innings.
Archer and Tikshana are fine. I mean, you should bowl bounces at them, not Madwal. Because his name is
Very,
Aakash.
very patriotic
No, but
point.
his name is Aakash, so you should be kinder to people with the name Aakash, is what I'm thinking, just from my point.
Plus points, if there are any. Suryavanshi.
Jaiswal, I think is
Jaiswal.
Jaiswal has been, I mean, again, I'm greedy with Jaiswal. I wanted more.
Okay.
I expected him to be actually finishing more games off. That's what I felt personally, that longer innings and all of that, because last year was a 400 plus season, but a middling season by his standards. There has to be a season which is a breakthrough season where he scores so many runs that you say, okay, now he is there. Because let's be honest, I mean, he's still not a T20 regular for Team India. And you must eye that spot. Yes, there is a bit of a rush at the top, but Yashasvi has to really put in an IPL performance that just breaks the ceiling.
I think Dhruv still again is a very young man. I don't know if that's his role at 4 or 5, where he's struggling to start against spin. His numbers are probably one of the worst in the league. You look at Jadeja's numbers and Dhruv Jurel's numbers, and they have 4s and 5s of their respective teams, and can't be striking at 100, right? So maybe it's a turn for Dhruv Jurel to either move out from this franchise because there's no top 3 spot there, or go to stay in the same franchise and bat up the order. I feel he needs to start against pace and then play spin. So have that conversation with Dhruv Jurel. I think he's a very, very good cricketer.
Yeah.
I rate him quite highly. I just think should be in the top 3 of an IPL team.
Trade to CSK maybe next year. They might want to keep a batter, high price. They have a couple of high price boys they could send the other way.
I mean, Ravindra Jadeja to
Back to his old
RR,
franchise.
where it all started.
I
They
thought
need a
that.
spinner.
I'm just dropping that
18
here.
crore, 14 crore.
Let's see. They'll have an all-rounder.
All-rounder in the middle, yes.
Let's come back to this in November, I think.
For a bet we will. Okay, you know what?
It's a Chennai topic, he's gone quiet.
No, again, the emotional, but I'd love the Dhruv Jurel. I'd love
What about not having Jadeja though?
I'd still be okay.
It will be
I'm
painful,
fine,
but
actually.
yes, yeah.
It'll be painful.
I'm sure painful to the
Yeah,
CSK
yeah,
loyalists,
you're
but no emotion
Come
involved.
from Chennai, we have some 8-9 left-arm spinners who bowl. We are almost like a mini Bangladesh where we have left-arm spinner after left-arm. You got 2 in the league itself, Sai and Siddharth. We got 2-3 more. I can find them.
Sriram is there. He can also come out of retirement. Good old Sridharan Sriram. Okay, I will do one thing. I'll take Vanendu Asaranga, Sandeep Sharma. I'll put them in a box for now because there are still a few RR games to go. So, but this is a wonderful, exhaustive chat on RR's big picture season, where it's gone wrong. I apologize how late I've been in taking your questions. I was very engaged. I hope you were too. Let's just wrap up a few things on MI. They did show up today. So just to check things out, GT were a good bowling side and RR took them apart 3 nights ago. Yes, largely due to one man's brilliance. Are MI a better bowling side? At least a fast bowling side? GT have Rashid, MI don't really have a big spinner there. But are MI the best bowling side in the league?
Interesting question actually. I'm just thinking overall, possibly yes.
On paper, you'll have to go yes.
Yeah, the spin is a little bit of still a question.
Karan Sharma has won them a game, hasn't he? Lucknow and
See, I'm thinking.
sorry, Delhi,
DC.
and these 3 wickets today for what it's worth. Yes, and
DC
I'm
has a
tempted
fair-
to go, believe it or not, RCB.
RCB. Okay.
There are 3 teams actually: DC, RCB, and MI.
DC's bowling has gone a little bit cold in the last few
I mean,
games.
they still not find. KP is not able to find a place for T Natarajan. There is scope for improvement.
All right. Very well. They have good reserves there as well.
I think if and when Rabada comes back for GT, that's a big in.
Yeah.
That's a
So-
big in. Agree?
I think they're in the conversation as well. I think MI fast bowling is right up there for sure. I think actually, you look at this run, it's an obvious point, but Bumrah lost his first game back and then has won 6 in a row since he's come back in, and has just been a cheat code. And actually, those two
Cheat code. It's a cheat code.
yeah, cheat code. Yeah.
He's that good, isn't he?
The two bumpers today. We've not actually. I don't think we've seen him bowl as in the 2 wickets in the power play. I don't think we've seen him bowl that sort of, especially on a slightly skiddy pitch with a bit of heat. Those are the couple of balls where I thought, wow, okay, he's really properly back.
Yeah. It was almost like he was angry he didn't get the contest of the day. And he's like, here, take that now, you guys. Yeah. Because I think we built this up, Suryavanshi and
we
Bumrah.
both said he won't
but
even
well
bowl.
done. And somebody called Deepak Chahar.
He did.
Matthew.
And in fact, they said 2 balls later, and exactly how it happened.
Well
The
done.
oracle.
I mean, Matt is on a roll.
Said he would nick him off was the problem.
Deepak Chahar, I'm disappointed. Pulling that boy half his age, less than half his age.
Yeah, I know.
So Deepak Chahar seems to quietly be ticking. He'll have some games where he'll not fire. But I think earlier we were saying Deepak Chahar. We showed you the power play numbers on the pre-show today with Deepak
But
and bowl.
that's the thing, Raunak. If you're looking at certain bowlers in the midst of other bowlers, they always look really good. You have to have role players in a team who are really good. Like Deepak Chahar has done wonderfully well even in CSK when he's got other players doing their roles for the other parts of the 20 overs. And that's exactly what he's got here. Nobody's eyeing Deepak Chahar and saying, okay, this is the man who's going to get me 3 for 15.
Right,
But if he gets that, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with RR. Everyone's playing out Archer or whatever.
And as new ball bowlers go, he's certainly more than serviceable to teams like RR who we've discussed their bowling woes, CSK as
100%.
well, struggling to find a power play bowler. And we've seen the results. Right, that is MI pretty much locked in, and I believe Surya Kumar Yadav, we did discuss the batting on the mid-show, but Surya Kumar Yadav has an unbelievable stat now.
Yeah, he's the record, isn't he, for most 25 plus scores in a row in IPL. He's gone clear of Robin Utapah 2014. So he was level with him before, and now 11 in a row, which is pretty crazy.
2014. Suryavanshi was 3. Get over that. Doesn't seem like such a long time ago. Anyway, but Surya with this kind of form and volume, is it surprising? And I mean to ask you that we expect Surya to win 2-3 games off the bat, even big games. It's kind of consistency.
See, again, personally, if you speak from a technical standpoint, you say he plays a high risk cricket. Batting is totally high risk. So if there is high risk, there is a chance of failure as well once in a while. But this season, he's been striking, and he's also giving you the volume that you're just talking about. So that consistency is laudable. And keeping in mind that the last 12 months as an India player, wherever he played, even that Syed Mushtaq Ali trophy for Mumbai or a Ranji trophy game for Mumbai, he didn't score a run.
Yeah.
So somebody who struggled so much for 12 months and suddenly has come to his own. Again, with good players, you do also know that there will be, if they're going through a bad patch, it's a phase which will pass. And the moment it does, then they'll be at their very, very best. So Surya Kumar Yadav playing in the fashion that he is a threat, is a terror.
We've established today, Abhinav, Mukund works very hard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask him a hard question.
Yeah, please. Harder
Right.
questions, that's
Oh,
it.
Rohit's also firing, Rickleton's also firing. Will Jacks, who's supposed to be the one weakness, has got 2 Player of the Match awards, bowling his off spin. All the bowlers seem to be in form. Is there a weakness to the Mumbai Indians? How do people stop them?
I think it's spin, definitely. I think you've got to take down a couple of those bowlers. I still think that Mumbai Indians could be out hit. I know Bumrah's there. Even if you play him 430, 32, I know they look very lethal with Deepak Chahar swinging the new ball, Trent Bolt bowling all faces. I think Bolt and Chahar can be taken down.
Right.
And I think one team will eventually end up doing that, where they call for reinforcements and go out of their plans. Right now, things are going well according to plan. Hardik's not bowling the power play. He comes in the 7th over, bowls those into the pitch slower balls. Then he calls for 1 over of that extra spinner, 1 or 2. Vignesh Putur bowled, I think, 1 or 2 overs. Karan Sharma bowls 1 or 2 overs. And without Santner, they're doing this. I still believe their bowling can be taken down. So
Okay, interesting.
Delhi did that. Delhi actually pushed them to the brink.
Yeah, they could have
the game
they could
with
have
3
lost
run outs
that
in 1
game.
over.
And it just triggered such huge game as it turns out. Just gave them a.
It was-
Otherwise, it would have been 5 losses in a row. I think it
Actually,
was.
Yeah, it would have
or
been 5
4
out of
out of
6, I
5,
think,
5 out
yeah.
of
There
6.
was
Interesting
one,
thing-
one ball by Mitchell Santner that dismissed Karun Nair.
Yeah.
If you were
I
to look
agree.
at that one moment where it all changed.
Yeah.
I
The
agree.
ball drifted in, turned, hit the top of off.
Sir,
Quite
green.
literally the
Mind
turning
blowing.
point.
Yeah, it was the
Turning point. Very good. Very good. Sir,
Guys,
I will.
but I think they're playing Punjab, GT, and
DC.
see, there you go.
Not the easiest run, but they do have 2 home games. GT,
next
Punjab,
up,
and
that's
DC.
That's a very interesting game.
MI,
next
GT
up.
at the Wankhede. And GT have SRH tomorrow. So that's for later. But for now, you've heard it here. Brilliant. And let me quickly take some questions and comments again. I apologize for how late it's come. Let's go. Riyan Parag, if you exclude 24, he's been constantly poor. So he had a one-off season. Surely something's not right. One thing was he got retained. That's from Kulathamani, this question. But why the decision to make him captain? That's an interesting one in Samson's absence. We thought it was only makeshift for 1 or 2 games at the start, Guwahati and all that. And we thought Sanju will come back. But did they also throw in a big burden of captaincy
Well,
on a man who has captained a state?
There is a leadership void. I mean, who else would you go to? It's as simple as that. They were not thinking about it at all at the auction when you're thinking about collecting, say, okay, if it happened the last season, Joss Butler was already there.
Yeah.
I mean, he is your ready-made replacement as a captain, as a
Ashwin
leader.
was in that team if
Ashwin
you
was
needed
there
someone
already
with
if you needed
experience.
somebody. Here, there is a leadership void.
Jaiswal ahead of Parag, would that have made any difference? Let Parag just do his thing. Jaiswal's at least established India player.
Then we would have been talking about Jaiswal. Is it the burden of captaincy
Okay, fine. Very good.
that has made him the batter
All
that
good,
he
sir.
is?
All good, sir. Thank you very much. Matt Roller, prediction king. Poor kid. They're blaming you for Vaibhav's downfall. Just jealous of another 14-year-old, aren't you? All right, what else do we have?
This generation.
Lots of questions on releasing Hetmeyer into the auction. If any team requires Cam Green, it's RR. Hopefully they can make space for him, says Ujjwal. What has happened to Hetmeyer? Maybe I'll just go a little deeper into that, on whether Hetmeyer has been getting runs around the world and has just had a bad IPL.
I don't think so. I don't think he's done particularly well over the last period of time. He wasn't even getting into he was sort of the spare batter in West Indies T20 World Cup squad last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening for him at the moment, is it? I think he's going to be back in the auction. I'd be shocked if they retain him.
And we've got smart buys like Shafin Rutherford, who's playing ahead of Hetmeyer in the West Indies team. GT pick him up, have found space for him.
And actually, Rajasthan, given they own teams in the Caribbean and South Africa, should be making some smart picks there with the scouting opportunities there.
Excellent. Very good. I think there's a lot of questions on the management of our RR, but they can watch this show. I'm sure that we'd be giving it to them for free. It'll help. But yeah, tough.
Retain
and
some bowlers.
You feel for Rahul Dravid. He probably has about 9 books like Matt's that he's been filling up with notes. Hopefully one day we'll.
3 of them are dedicated to Vaibhav Suryavansh's homework. So don't get fooled by the number of books and the number of pens he has to change.
There are a lot of Suryavanshi related jokes that are coming through in the comments. What was Matt doing when he was 14 last year? That's not the best of them. Come on, let's go. Right. Anything else that I can see? No, I think that's pretty much it. But thank you very much, everybody. I think there are a lot of good questions, but I think we answered most of it in our big picture RR chat.
12th May, Monday. If you want tickets, let me know.
Oh, yes, that is a game between CSK and RR. And Abhinav Mukund is offering tickets.
Okay, I'll ask him. I'll find somebody. I don't know, I don't get tickets that easily. I don't have that kind of contact.
He gets cars easily.
Go on, sir. Go on. No problem. I wonder when, just on a finishing note, when England would say, right, Jofra, that's enough. Time to come
Surely
home.
not.
We've got
Wow.
5 tests coming up.
It's interesting. They're naming their squad to play Zimbabwe tomorrow, which is at the end of the month. I don't think he's going to be in it. I don't think Bethel's going to be in it either. They've promised the BCCI after the mixed messaging last year that they're definitely going to let everyone stay until the end of the season. But
I guess contextually, there can be a mutual agreement between the franchise and the bowler and the board, and
as
long as it's mutual.
Would BCCI be happy with that? Getting Archer back home and getting ready for that test series in the summer?
It's a benevolent board, I'm sure.
No, but I mean, you get a part of the player's salary, right, as ECB?
True.
And they have to pay Zimbabwe to play. this time.
There's all that as well to worry about. But on,
They
a,
need some money.
on a serious note, yes, they certainly might be entertaining the conversation. The last thing we want to see is Chopra pulling one or just before England. I mean, the last thing we want to see is in England want to see. But I want to see when Archer is fittest playing India in those tests. So we'll see how that goes. Excellent. Rapid fire review time. This is where we have quick summations of a very quick game. I think show might have gone on longer than the second innings, but it was riveting. And that's what I enjoy when we put the two openers together.
Oh, yeah.
Abhinav, Mukund, Aakash Chopra. Time flies when you're having fun, isn't it? Let's go. Let's go from you, Abhi, to start us off. 40s for all the four batters, but which Mumbai batter impressed you the most today?
I know, I just saw Rickleton was player of the match, but
was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Rickleton was player of the match, but I'd go Surya.
Okay, reason?
Because he just was the link between the openers and Hardik, and he's just managing to hit boundaries out of nowhere.
All right. Aakash Chopra, 10 wickets in the last 3 games after 6 in the first 8. What is clicking for Trent Bolt?
Oh, well, I think he's getting to bowl a few more overs in the power play overs, something that they were not assigning him. Initially, he was bowling 1 and then he bowled 1 in the middle, 2 at the death. If you allow him to bowl with the new ball, ideally the first over itself, it's more often than not, he'll give you wickets.
Half volley for you, Matt. Form of the batters or quality of the bowlers? What hurt Rajasthan more this season?
Both, but but I think the bowling is probably the bigger issue.
All right. Parag, Jurel or Hetmeyer? Abhi, which retention has been RR's biggest disappointment?
2, I would think. 2, Jurel and Hetmeyer.
All right. And 6 wins in a row, more dominant by each game, are Mumbai favourites to not just finish in the top 4, but top the league. Aakash.
There is a strong possibility because now you're trying to find ways to describe their weaknesses. I mean, there are no apparent weaknesses, and we know that if this team gets on a roll, then they're like a juggernaut that is difficult to stop.
Okay, right, that's pretty much it. Let's just confirm points table and position for the 5-time champions. You know what? This season means a hell of a lot for them. They finished bottom last season, everything that went down, and it's been 5 years since they've won. So make no mistake, they won't be happy just finishing here. But 14 points, the best net run rate in the league, first team to get there. Bengaluru can catch up with them when they play at the Chinnaswamy against the Super Kings. As far as Rajasthan go, their season, along with the Super Kings, is effectively over in the race for the playoffs. Let's see what they can get of their remaining 3 games. All right, gentlemen, this has been an absolute pleasure. I must say, this is a pair that I wish I would have put together more. Did you all open together ever towards the end of Akash's career and maybe start of yours?
We always played against each other and annoyed the crap out of
I remember commentating on one of the test matches that he played. So obviously,
I remember him commentating from slip in one of the Tamil Nadu Delhi games.
all right then.
Can't top that. Matt, brilliant to have you back as well, mate. I will see you tomorrow. Mr. Chopra, I will see you tomorrow.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Mukund, a nice,
Yes.
reasonably short break from the couch.
Yes.
But I'll see you next week.
Next
Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for
Thank
being
you.
part of the conversation. What a day for the Mumbai Indians. Good luck planning to stop them. Rajasthan Royals, lots of planning to do. Join us tomorrow, though, because we've got IPL action coming your way every day before the toss on Nexa Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Next.